Hey!
You have.
I have not heard the whale. We'll get into that here in a second, but welcome back to the Adam and Rachel Show. It is Tuesday, what is it, the 5th of June?
I think the 5th, yeah.
It's the 5th of June. We just got back from a conference last week. That's why you guys missed us on the show. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is because we were either in a conference room or we were on an airplane. So now we're back and we're glad. So we're going to go over some of the stuff that we learned, some of the walkaways, some of the interactions that we had, because a lot of it was pretty enlightening. And then we're going to get into some stuff with the relationships and your health and how you can capitalize on your differences. That's one of the things that really, like people ask us every once in a while, and they're like, questions about our relationship and some of the weird stuff that we've done, because we've done a lot of weird stuff to get to where we are, because like health, wealth, relationships, time, if it's one of your greatest resources, you better do everything you possibly can to get to have the best possible experience that you can in this life. So I didn't want a normal relationship. I wanted an incredible relationship, and Rach did too. It's something that we agreed upon. So we did everything we possibly could. I forgot that it's warm in here, and if it touch you, you're like, oh my god, your hands, you're such a furnace. But anyway, so we did a lot of weird stuff, and so that's one of the reasons that we go to conferences. It's one of the reasons that we talk about this stuff so much. Is because there's so much, like, I think we have done a ton of work over the last few years to be able to get to where we are now, and I still think we're just scratching the surface of what could actually be. But that's why we go to all these conferences. It's why we do all this stuff. And what did you think of, not necessarily like the specifics of the conference and why we went to it, but what do you think of going to conferences and going and doing stuff outside of your? I'm kind of filling in the blanks for you, but you can just go open-ended on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can, I guess the positive to it is it keeps the conversation going.
What do you mean?
And by that, I mean, you can both become clear on what you want, but your goals and your mindset are always changing. So it keeps you around people who are constantly exploring more of themselves. So, I mean, you can bounce ideas back and forth between us, but like having other people who are curious and trying to get to a new level in their relationship is also, or in their like, in their business or whatever, they're there to improve. Yeah. So in a relationship, it's nice to have people who are willing to be open-minded and have a conversation rather than just spout their opinions and not let the conversation go much further.
Yeah. And how do you think that plays into the whole, like, just getting outside of what the norm is? Like I think, like, whenever we go to these conferences and then we come back, it's weird, like you can't stay the same, right? Like you're going to constantly change. So
that's what I mean. Keep the conversation moving forward.
Right. But
not like, the conversation, but the relationship.
So when we come back from these and we're a little bit different, like something has changed in us and our dialogue's a little bit different. Where do you think it comes into, like, there's something here, I don't know quite how to explain it, but there's something to when we come back from these things, and you look back at the 2 weeks before that and you're like, and you realize how much of the doldrums that you had gotten yourself into. They're just the normal, everyday status quo. This is just the way it is, blah, 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 like tweedle dumping it along the way. And I think that the conference kind of breaks that up.
So
or going
I don't think going
coaches, whatever.
Into it, you like when you're there, it kind of forces you to, it's like a mirror. It forces you to look at some of the behaviors that you're doing that can be a little limiting. And not that it's like you'll come home and you'll have a 180 and you'll never be the same person. It's more like now you've been presented with them and you have an obligation to work on those.
Okay.
So like if you were to find out that you had diabetes, you were presented with that information. You have an obligation to change some of your habits so that you can improve your health. I mean, that's an extreme example, but it's the same with your mind. I don't know if that's that extreme.
That's a real example. I mean, people are dealing with that every day. Like, hey, you're diabetic. I remember when my grandparents got, on the Reese side, The Reeses are so different. The one side of the family is so different from the other side. But my grandparents both around the same time, they said, you guys are diabetic, and they're like, I don't believe that. I think they just say that to everybody. I was like, wow. You guys don't eat anything but sugar all the time. I'm surprised you weren't diabetic decades ago.
See, and then there's that you can either say to yourself, I want to be better, I want to get healthier and implement some changes, or you can just be like, well, I can't really do anything about it, this is just how I am, and continue on that path.
Yeah. So
it's not going to get any better. I mean, it might, depending on like what you do during the day, but to make an effort in the opposite direction of those bad behaviors is when you'll really see a difference in your health. So with the conferences or like having a conversation with a mentor, if you're just going to these and like going to these doctor's appointments and they're telling you you have diabetes and you haven't been doing anything about it, like if you're continuing to hear this information and you're not taking it back and implementing any changes, then what's the point of going to the doctor? What's the point of going to the conference?
Yeah, but people do that all the time though. They go to like how many people, maybe you haven't seen it, but I've seen a ton of it where they think that they're depressed or they think that something's wrong with them, so they go to a doctor. That doctor doesn't tell them the information that they wanted to hear, so they go to another doctor. And then that doctor doesn't tell them what they wanted to hear, so they go to another doctor and another doctor and another doctor and another doctor until one doctor finally tells them what they wanted to hear, and they're like, oh yeah, this is great, this is what I'm going to do. Instead of just hearing the thing that was a little bit inconvenient that didn't necessarily feel good, they bounce around till they found a doctor that made them feel good about themselves.
Well, that could also be going into it, you have to have an open mind. You have to be willing to say, like, once I hear this information, am I gonna do good with it, or am I just gonna like stick in my own ways?
Yeah.
Like,
so like when we're like, what was the conference like for you? Or well, actually, let's get into the opposites, the opposite stuff. So the show today, the topic of the show today was the idea of opposites in relationships. And we want to get clear here, like from my perspective, you have opposites that attract, but commonalities sustain. However, there is, like, you're going to have some things that you differ with your partner on. So the way that we don't look at that as a negative, we look at that as a positive. We look at it as what she's really great at, I'm not very good at. In fact, I suck at. And what I'm really good at, she really sucks at. So it's like this, like we can look at it like we are both like we the things that I suck at, she's really good at. So she makes up for that, and then the things that I suck at, she's really good at. So it makes a very good team.
It's a yin and yang.
I don't know. It's a yin and yang.
Well, we both bring things that we both
maybe
help each other be each other's best self by, I don't know, when you kind of look at it like you don't want to be in a tug-of-war kind of relationship. You don't want to be the total same person. And like two leaders are going to be pulling in the opposite direction, butting heads. But if you get clear on where you want your relationship to go, you can both be each other's, I don't know, like Adam can pull and I can push. I can help him along. Yeah. And the same with in any direction. Once you're clear on that, we kind of just balance each other out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that he's awful at, but I'm better at. There's a lot of things I'm awful at, and he's better at. But that kind of brings it all to a whole and kind of, I don't know, smooths out the surface of like what we're not good at.
Well, I think a lot of people get into their relationships and that like they end up with a person that is exactly like they are. And if you're exactly like, if you have the same set of skills, if you both suck at the same things and you're both great at the same things, you're going to have this fight for who's great at what, and you're going to have this lack of over here. Mm-hmm. So if you have the opposite thing going on, it can be powerful if you frame it that way. But I don't think people frame it that way. I think they frame it the other way around. It's like they don't complement each other.
like there's a difference between having things in common. Like if we had completely different interests, like completely polar
That's
opposite,
what I mean.
That's different than
I was hoping that you'd go there.
Than behaviors and
skills. Yeah. So what are you talking about when you say that? Like,
so to be in a relationship, it's great to have similar interests, similar common interests, I guess.
I think the vision. I think that's what you're going for. Like,
yeah. So
like the
we
vision
have
that we want for our lives.
A common goal.
Yeah.
But the way we get to that goal is not always going to be the same.
And we have common, like, for instance, like some of our values are extremely common. Like commonalities sustain, but like opposites may attract, but commonalities sustain. So you want those commonalities to be certain attributes that you do have. For instance, both of us are extremely curious people. Like if she wasn't a curious person, I don't think that I would be interested. And if I wasn't a curious person, I don't think that she would be interested. Both of us are on an insane level of curious. Like we just want to know. We want to know. We're really like we want to know about other people. We want to know about other things. We're constantly asking questions. And I'm much more analytical. I wouldn't say that that's like, but like she just like wants to know how people tick, so that because one of her values is like through service. Like it's like something that
like human interaction
is really important for her.
Yeah.
But like we don't have but our skill sets are completely different. Like I am extremely organized, and very, very assertive. Rachel is much more nurturing, but much more creative. So it's a nice balance, right? So not organized. Rachel's not organized, but I am. And Rachel's extremely creative, but I'm not so great at being creative. Rachel's extremely good nurturer. I suck. I'm really bad. Like not a very good nurturer. And
you're not that bad, actually.
She's very passive. She's not assertive like I am. So it's a nice balance, right?
I was kind of thinking of it as like masculine and feminine.
Ooh, you want to go there?
Well, I'm not like masculine. Like if we walk into a room with being like super aggressive and like masculine, we're gonna butt heads. Like there has to be a give and take.
I think it depends on how you define masculinity, but like you want to walk into a room.
Yeah,
and
it's
we're
just
both,
like
super aggressive,
more of like
overpowering,
an idea.
Yeah.
Like in a relationship, kind of why men and females go together so well is because they complement each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I like.
Like the woman gives a femininity to it, the man gives a masculinity to it. That doesn't mean that a woman can't be masculine or a man can't be feminine.
Of course,
one has more of a, not ability, but a likely to be that person.
Like different attributes for each.
Yeah, and it changes for everybody.
Right, and so everybody like this is something that not a lot of people think about, but. Everybody's got their masculine. Like a male has his masculine side, a male has his feminine side that he doesn't like to look at most of the time, but we do. And then we also have the little boy inside of us that is always going to be there, like your child self, right? And I'm not talking about like old school psychology where it's like become your child self. That stuff gets really silly. But Rachel has her feminine side, she has a masculine side, and she has the little girl inside, like the little girl Rachel too. So everybody's got all three of those, and the child self is the strongest part of you. But you should own both your masculine and your feminine side, because that's where like there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah, well, and you don't want to always be in a state of being nurturing and calm and submissive, and like that's not the point of it. It's like you have to give and take at some points.
Yeah. Like
you're not always going to be that person designated in the relationship.
Yeah.
It's just kind of feeling out for where do I fit into this instance.
Yeah. And when I first started researching this stuff, it was really interesting because like most of us don't really think about or analyze or question polarity in our society. Like we don't really look at this. We don't look at like right now it's like this melting pot of like this equality thing is great and all, like how you treat people equal, right? Duh. But then it goes into sort of like, are we not going to appreciate our differences? If we're going to appreciate our differences and we're going to appreciate our commonalities, then we have to see both. So there is a polarity. There's a difference between Rachel and I, and hopefully that complements itself, that it doesn't take away from that.
Uh-huh.
I think that would be a big error to not acknowledge that.
I forgot to say this. So there might be, in something that we realize that we lack, we are almost more attracted to the opposite of that. So we kind of seek out what I find attractive about you are things that I don't necessarily feel like I'm the best at.
Sure.
So I think that's like a natural kind of connection.
The psychology of biology of you.
Of me, or just everybody?
No, that's one of the things in biology. Like, we know that that part of the reason that you're attracted to another person is through the scent. We know we can track basically immune systems. So similar immune systems usually will not pair up as mates.
Oh, because
because they're the same immune system, right? So it actually makes you weaker if both of you have a strong immune system, for instance, or a weak immune system. So one person wants to have a polarity to their immune system, so that when you come together, you get to basically share each other's germs, so that your immune system actually grows stronger. It's one of the things
pretty geeky.
The biology of attraction. If you guys
like on the
ever
small
feel like looking into that.
level. But I mean, we all start from a very small level.
I don't know if that's a small level. We are biological creatures. This is one of the things that just came out in the news about somebody called somebody an animal. No, it wasn't the Roseanne Barr thing, but somebody else. I don't remember what the deal was, but they're like, they're animals. And I was like, we're all animals. We are biological creatures, and we're susceptible to this stuff. Just because we think a lot doesn't necessarily mean that we're not susceptible to our own biology. We are going to have certain things happen. Our DNA just doesn't.
Basic needs that kind of take over.
Yeah, if you suppress your reptilian brain, you're asking for a lot of bad stuff. If you suppress your if you don't eat long enough, like, I've starved. Like ask any wrestler who's cut weight, and they'll be like, yeah, I've looked at food in the garbage, thought about eating it.
Oh, because you were just so hungry?
I've thought about eating rotten food before. Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. And then you look at like if your reptilian brain is basically survival. So reproduction would be survival of the species. Food would be survival of your body, and then so reproduction would be sex, and then fight or flight, obviously survival. So I
think that's what I meant by going small. It's like something takes over that has nothing to do with like our
conscious brain.
Our conscious. It is. It's going to happen no matter how hard you fight it. Like, if you're going to starve yourself, you're going to find a way to eat.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah.
Like, whether it's, I mean, there's stories of people eating people.
That's what that movie.
Like, I'm sure none of us can imagine doing that, but when it comes down to
that's the thing. Like, your will to survive is greater than any other thing that you have in your body. Anything other thing that you have in your body, in your mind, your will to survive is insane. What?
It kind of went weird.
It is pretty weird, but
it is. No.
If you guys only someday, hopefully, we are so inhibited on the show that you guys actually see the conversations that we have behind the scenes.
They get weird.
Like, once in a while, like, I'm definitely like, if someone's a weirdo, like the super. Like, you sit back in your chair and you're just like, oh my god, he's so crazy.
Yeah, there's times where I get quiet. He's like, don't you see? And I'm like, I mean, kinda.
But so, like, what things in common? So there's commonalities and then there's opposites. And so what I'm talking about with skills, so one of the personality tests that we use out at Grit is the KWML. So it's on spectrums like that. Whoops. If you guys can see it.
But
I don't know. But anyway, it's on spectrums. And so on the right side, you have right brain people. The right brain, left brain thing has been proven to not be accurate. But anyway, we're going to use it for today. So right brain people are like the creative types, and the left brain people are the very organized types. And then on the bottom, you have the more assertive people. And on the top, you have the more nurturing people. So then more nurturing people are, so on the top, you have more nurturing, more passive kind of people. And on the bottom, you have more assertive type people. And on the right, you have more creative people, and on the left you have more organized people. So when you're doing this, so the left brain nurturing person is more like a king or a queen. So a left-brained assertive person is more like a warrior. Right-brained nurturing person is a lover or a poet, and the right-brained assertive person is a magician. So it looks more like that. And so, for instance,
closer so they can see it.
I don't know
there
if you guys
go.
can see that, like that.
Oh,
so you
it's
got
backwards.
king. It's backwards, sorry guys. But so you've got king, queen is the nurturing left brain person. So like me, I'm a very assertive person, but I'm also much more towards the left brain side.
So guess what I am then?
So I'm a warrior, all right? And this is where the opposite things come in. So like, because Rachel is much more creative, but she's much more nurturing. So she's a lover poet, right? And I'm a warrior. And where this comes into being useful is when you're building teams or you're in a relationship. So if you're in a relationship with somebody that, like if I was in a relationship with a warrior, we would constantly butt heads. We just we constantly
go to war.
Go to war against each other. And if you're a king in a relationship with a queen, well, then you're both really good at nurturing back and forth, but you're not really good at being assertive. So you end up just crawling inside of your hole and not doing much. And so it becomes problematic, right? So when you're building a team, you want at least one from all four. So like if you look at movies, almost all movies have every single one of these characters as one of the main characters. So like if you're into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Raphael is a warrior, Michelangelo is the magician, the lover poet is Donatello, and the king is Leonardo. What's another movie?
With 4?
With anybody, just name a movie.
10 Things I Hate About You? I don't know. That just came out.
Let's see.
Oh, what about Bridesmaids?
Porthos would be the king. Athos would be the warrior. I might be getting them backwards. Wait, what?
What about Bridesmaids?
Bridesmaids, the main character.
So Kristen Wiig would be...
She'd probably be a lover poet. And I don't know that movie very well.
Oh, Rose.
Rose Byrne, she'd be a queen.
Yeah.
She's a queen for sure.
Magician would probably be.
She's either a queen or a warrior, and I don't like. Actually, yeah, she's probably a queen.
This would probably be Melissa McCarthy.
Probably like Jim Carrey is a magician.
Okay.
For sure, just in real life, even like you can just tell.
Yeah.
He's totally a magician.
Mm-hmm.
Out at Grit Jim, Eric is a queen. Queen, king, queen. My bad, he's not a queen. He's a king. Amber's a warrior.
What about your mom?
Tori's a magician. What about Janet?
Mm-hmm.
Janet's a warrior.
Okay.
Through and through. Myron's a king. So there, like that might be a situation. So like a warrior, king, queen. They're both very good at the organization thing, but they're not very good at the creative side. So they end up getting into problems when one is very good at nurturing, one is really good at assertive. That's great. You have something, you have a skill that capitalizes on each other, that complements each other. But both of them that really organized type frame, not necessarily that creative thing. So when they come to an obstacle, it's like, well, how do we, like if you're not super creative, you won't find a solution to that obstacle as well as if one of you had that right brain style, that creative style.
So outside of like a relationship, like a loving relationship, what about like in a work relationship?
It works the same way.
So you want to have all 4. You don't want to have a bunch of kings and queens, or you don't want to have a bunch of warriors.
Yeah.
Because
your mom sent us that video the other day that Bill Gates was talking about the different types of, like he thought that just really smart people will always find a way to get the job done. And then later on he realized that's a big mistake, because if you just have a bunch of smart people in a room, they end up basically getting in a fight. You gotta have the different skill sets. You gotta have a different deal going on there. Otherwise, you don't complement each other as well.
yeah, so you're gonna get the most done with all your personalities, kind of working as a whole, not all being a warrior and fighting to the death. You're not gonna get anything done, actually.
No.
You'll spend your whole entire time just fighting.
Like in the movie Serendipity with John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale, She's a warrior, and John Cusack's character is a lover poet. In most of his movies, he's a lover poet. Almost all of them. In almost all of Jim Carrey's movies, he plays a magician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Oprah?
Oprah's a queen.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
She's most
this
certainly
is a fun
a queen.
game.
This is a fun game. Some people aren't so clear, and some people are. But this is one of the ways. Like commonalities sustain, though. So like opposites attract, but opposites usually end up just butting heads because like when you talk about opposites, you're talking about opposite interests, opposite values. Where you talk about skills, it's like when you're talking about values and interests, you want commonalities. You don't want opposites. But when it comes to skills, just natural, kind of more natural born skills or what you're already comfortable with, you want the opposite.
What about in friendships?
I think it's the same thing. Like if you had a group of friends together, like TJ, magician, Dane, king, Drew, lover poet,
Okay.
me, warrior.
So you work together as a friend group?
We would probably work really well together, yeah.
Okay. I didn't think of it like that. No, I just have a lot to think about.
Yeah, you gotta think like think how often warriors get competitive,
All the time.
or how many warriors are drivers that are just like really like the dominant. Like me as a warrior, I have to stop and be like, calm down, figure everything out, adjust the scenario. Whereas like for self development too, this personality test works really well because like if you're a lover poet, you should be doing jujitsu and trying to be as organized as possible.
What is this called?
This is the KWML.
Okay.
This is just put on spectrums. It's really simple. But that's that's Amber.
What'd she say?
Well, it pops up as it pops up as Grit Jim. But I was like, wait, how is Grit Jim talking to Grit Jim? Grit Jim is live right now. It's Amber. It won't let me comment as myself. No, that is not what I'm saying. But I wonder what it would be like if we worked like in the same office all day long. I bet you eventually you'd be like you'd be ready to like stab me in the face. What do you think?
Me or Amber?
I hope you wouldn't want to stab me in the face.
No, but why would Amber?
Just because we're both super highly like I'm a 99 on the disc for dominance. And Amber's like a 78. So both of us are extremely high on the dominance scale.
Okay.
So we would like just want to dominate the situation all the time. And plus both of us kind of like to work alone in our own space, and then we come back together. So we we come together to plan, but we divide and conquer sort of thing.
Okay.
So like another situation where it works really well, but I don't think it would work as well
if you were in an office.
If we were working like side by side all day long, I think it would be better if we divide and conquer. We work really well together that way.
That makes sense.
I think we would make it work. It just it would still be, even if we worked in an office, we'd like separate, work on our shit, then we'd come back together later, and then we separate, work on our stuff. I don't think we could like sit there and just go back and forth like the entire time.
No, probably
but
not.
I don't think I could do that with anybody. So there's that. But anyway, what else did you have? And then we'll hop off the show. 'Cause we're about done.
I guess just becoming clear, figuring out. Oh wait.
I like that though, because we were talking about that. The conversation that she's talking about when we talked a lot about clarity when we were in a conversation with somebody. They ran a business because we were at a coaching conference, basically like how to become a better coach. And we were talking to this person who coaches people through couples through relationships that are like co-entrepreneurs, like they both own the business.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I think clarity is the biggest thing. Like, she was asking, what are your biggest obstacles? And I'm like, well, just being extremely literal, extremely clear. Like when you say, what time is it? And someone says, it's late. Well, no, I asked for it. Is it 7:38 or is it 9:42 or is it 1 o'clock in the morning? Like, what's late mean? I want like extremely clear. And like we're talking about what the word, like clarity of the word love. Like, how do you define the word love? How do I define the word love? Like getting extremely clear. Because one of the agreements we had was that when one of us gets angry, like let's say I get angry and she has a clear head. She's like, "What are you pissed about?" We know that we need to walk away from each other for a little bit, right? but we have an agreement that it's not on the person's shoulders that is mad to walk away, because that person's not thinking clearly. If I'm the one that's mad, she's the one that walks away. And we were talking about that.
So, okay, yeah. Becoming clear and being able to ask questions.
Yeah.
If you're not clear.
That's huge.
Yeah,
because how are you going to get clear if you don't ask the
you
question?
can be clear, but along the way there might be questions.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that the goal is changed. It just means like I've lost this bit of clarity.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
clear on it.
By the way. Oh, well, it does turn off when you turn it up.
Yep.
No way. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, clarity is like a huge, huge deal. If you don't get clear on what you're talking about, then how are you going to, and if you don't ask questions, how are you ever going to get clear?
Yeah. I mean, if
What
someone's,
does that mean?
if you think you're doing something right and someone's constantly getting mad at you, that's when you should ask questions, because
You're
you
probably
might
not
think
doing it
that
right.
you're doing it right until, yeah. And then if that's not the case, then that's on them. They're not following the path.
Yeah. But if you don't have those agreements set up first, what happens?
You'll never know.
You'll never know.
You'll never know.
All right, you ready to hop off?
Yeah.
All right, so what did we get accomplished today?
We got clear.
Did we?
Yeah.
On oppositions or opposites or on commonalities?
Both.
Are both helpful?
Yes.
Could both be detrimental?
Yes.
Could we hop off the show?
Yes.
Do you want to send us off?
No, you can go. I know how you like to do it.
Nice. Way to... That's like a, will you please? I just like how you do it. All right, thanks for being here, guys. We really appreciate it. Can you please slap the share button, send this out to everybody that you know. If you got something out of it, we would really like to hear back from you. We really like to hear feedback. It's fun when you guys do. We do this show daily, 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can hit the follow button, and it will alert you when we go live. But these are always live. Every one of these is live. And tomorrow we have an interview with Andrew Millett, which should be really good. He's an expert in physical therapy. And that's a long time ago for me. But anyway, it'll be really good. Hope you guys enjoyed today and got something out of it. We'll be back next Tuesday. All right. Thanks, guys.